As a retail employee, I often look around the small store which I'm first to work at in order to make even a tiny amount of money and ask myself, why? Why does this matter? Why is this important? Why do I deserve to make a livable wage at my job just because I work in retail? After all, I only make 13 an hour, and some people, you might be one of them, don't even make that. According to Google, approximately 20% to 39% of autistic college students graduate within 5 to 7 years, significantly lower than the general population's 59% 6-year rate. While enrollment is rising, autistic students face higher dropout rates, with some estimates suggesting that fewer than 2% of autistic students are on track to graduate 5 years after high school. End quote. And in a world that values a college degree or special qualifications in order to get, I'm using finger quotes here, a real job, that leaves us autistic people at a major disadvantage from the moment we graduate. I mean, hell, I barely survived 4 years of high school. Now I'm expected to tackle college, learn how to live on my own, and decide what it is I want to do with the rest of my life, all at the age of 18 or 19. It's a nightmare and a struggle. Even autistic people like me who did and still do have support from their parents and family struggle because parents can't change the curriculum, which is why autistic people like me end up dropping out. Now, at first this might not seem so bad. After all, not everyone has to go to college. But like I said, without a degree, finding a good paying job is nearly impossible. Which is why so many of us have to work at jobs like retail, the food industry, or any other on-level, typically low-paying job just to survive. And that's if we are even making enough to survive poorly. Most retail workers don't even do that. It's a sad reality, but it's true. It happened to me, and it happens to thousands of autistic people before we even have a chance to start our adult journey. I want you to know that if you are a person with autism watching this, I see you, I understand the struggle. Just know this isn't your fault and there is still hope out there. I am here for you. Number 1, the constant change and unpredictability. Unlike an office job, which typically has a set structure, you come in at 9 and leave at 5, retail is extremely unpredictable. One week you might work a full 30 hours, the next you might only get a day. And for autistic people who don't just prefer structure but need it to manage a world that often feels unsafe and unpredictable, this can be absolutely miserable. Heck, the place I currently work routinely changes my schedule last minute or adds shifts without even telling me. But it isn't just the schedule that changes, but the people too. Retail is one of those industries which has the highest overturn rate, which can be hard on autistic people who keep making friends only for them to leave. Plus, people on the spectrum are very good at making connections and finding patterns. Over time, we learn to adjust and figure out how to interact with an individual. But when you are sometimes adding a new person a week, it can be exhausting to try to manage. Plus, sometimes when you're in the middle of a task, your task can change at a moment's notice. Not really because there's a reason, but typically it's because the company came up with a new and usually highly ineffective way of doing something, or a customer or the manager needs your help, making it very difficult to put your full attention into one task. Managers can be cold and manipulative. Now, before I elaborate on this point, I want to say throughout my over 6 years of working retail, I have actually had some wonderful managers. But this section isn't about them. I'm talking about the managers who I'm sure we've all had at one point. The ones who make you wonder if they crawled out from hell, the ones who constantly wake up to choose violence, the ones who apparently don't know the definition of the word kindness. And believe me, I've experienced my fair share of these types of people. When I worked in a grocery store a couple years back, I had these two managers, let's call them Bertha and Jess, who seemed to delight in bullying employees, specifically ones with disabilities of some kind, like me. Let's start with Bertha. This woman used to time my bathroom breaks, yell at me for no reason, and even cause me to fall one time. Long story. The point is, she wasn't very kind, something my next manager Jess loved, because it allowed her to get away with pretty much anything. You see, Bertha worked in the office, which meant she had a lot of leverage with the higher-ups, and boy, did Jess use that to her advantage. She used to send the employees with disabilities outside to collect carts for far longer than was safe, especially in weather like extreme sun or pouring rain. She'd even get mad at people if we stopped to buy water. So I tell you all of this just to say autistic people are very likely to get taken advantage of in the workplace, especially retail, because they like to use our natural desire to work hard for their own gain. Oh, and you can expect to hear a lot of crap like the customer is always right in order to try to manipulate you. And in my experience, the customer is very rarely right. I even once had a lady threaten to call the police on me because she had to wait in line. So yeah, people can be crazy. Number 3, sensory overload. I do think this one is a little bit more universal to all autistic people, and it's sensory overload. Imagine having to walk into a place like this every day. You do this typically with no headphones or any other device to help unless your manager is kind. On top of that, you have to run the register, interact with customers, and just work with that low level background noise. It can become unbearable. I know where I work now, I have this problem. You see, it's a rather small store, and they love to blast their music at full volume every day. So adding this with all of the other things mentioned can leave autistic people feeling drained at the end of a shift. Plus, I feel pressure to mask to try and fit in, which doesn't help with the constant input. Number 4. Tasks can be completely arbitrary and make no sense. People with autism, like me, often like to understand the why behind everything. It comes from a general desire to understand the world around us and how it functions. But at retail, rules are often random and make no real sense. For example, the store I currently work at wants us to fold the shirts a certain way, tag the clothes a certain way, even hang them in a certain way. This is all very frustrating to me because there isn't really any reason to do this, except for the company decided it. This might not sound bad, but I know for me at least, I felt like I'm not good at my job because I can't remember every pointless little rule. Number 5, constant small talk. Lastly, and this is a big reason, working retail requires constant social interaction, often in the form of small talk, a form of conversation me and lots of other autistic people struggle with. And people aren't always nice. While some people can be kind and are fun to talk to, the unknown of how each conversation will go can breed anxiety. A way I've gotten around this was to actually make little scripts for each person. However, it can be slightly awkward once you get the same person a few different times. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing to my channel along with my Patreon, as it really does help to support me so I can keep making these videos for you guys. Also, if you'd like to share your personal retail horror story in the comment section below, I would love to read it. Alright, until we meet again, guys. Bye.